we make the sound of the satellite, breaking through gravity. I am Jagger 67. I'm affected, you're selected. I want you with your twisted hair and your lip ring stare.
From the heat of Malaysia to the streets of Japan, the ISR AIC arrives in Tokyo. Round 3 of Season 7 brings us to the iconic Tokyo R246 street circuit, where precision is everything and the margins are razor thin. Fast, technical and completely unforgiving, this is a track that demands total commitment from every driver on the grid. But today, the challenge is even greater. Rain has fallen ahead of the start, leaving the circuit damp and treacherous. Grip will be limited, visibility uncertain, and confidence will be everything as the field prepares to tackle one of the most demanding venues of the season in unpredictable conditions. And at the front, a breakthrough story. Elliot Hall has stunned the paddock with his first pole position in the ISR AIC in just his debut season with Nemesis Racing Team. He now leads the way, but the pressure of converting that opportunity to a maiden win is under the most difficult of circumstances. Behind him, the threats are everywhere. Josh Martin, the ISR AIC Season 2 champion, is here along with me. Welcome back, Josh.
Hey Toby, it's looking like we got one hell of a race to come, and the rain's certainly spicing things up.
Absolutely. This is the man who will look to take that pole position. He lines up from the front row, and I believe Josh is about to take us through a wonderful lap that put him on pole position. But just before we get to that, Joshua Wood having a miserable time out. He'll be looking to bounce back here today, and it's Nemesis' first racing time since Season 4, since he started on the front row of the grid.
Yes, thank you very much, Toby. Welcome to Tokyo, everybody, as we ride on board now for Elliot for his pole position lap here around R246, a street circuit that's renowned for being so dangerous when you get it wrong, but full of high-speed corners. Sector 1, as we come up, is just a very quick sector, to be honest, ends just after turn 1. 600 metres straight braking into that first corner, have that 90-degree right-hander before you quickly come into Sector 2. Sector 2 turns to 7, it's a tight left-hander, followed by a big sweeping right-hand turn 3, and making sure that you get that entry right. If there's a lot of understeer around here, you can get it very wrong. That parabolic corner is becoming to now turn 4, taking medium speed in most cars is around 15 seconds long, so quite long, and we're going into 5 and 6. As you can see, a very fast sector, and already we are then down into sector 3. Run down this straight, it is a great chance to overtake, but there is only one racing line, so drivers are going to have to be very careful as they come up through here. Over the hill as we turn right into turns 9 and 10, two 80-degree right-handers, which then become a single sort of double apex corner. Then we go back down the hill through the gears again, twisting left and right through the highways of Tokyo before certainly coming into a complex junction just at the bottom of expressway number 4. As the track then turns sharply again, this corner is possibly the slowest section that we just came through at turn 14 there, and then we follow our way back down the straight onto that start-finish line, which is 2/3 of the way along. A very good lap there from Elliot, and as you can see, keeping the car planted throughout, not too much challenge, and a very good lap for the youngster.
Fantastic stuff for the only rookie on the Season 7 grid, and you'd be fooled for thinking that was a veteran's lap. Fantastic effort by the Brit, and Nemesis Racing Team looking like a return to form, like we say, for the first time since Season number 4. Let's head into the formation lap and the qualifying grid then. Let's find out where these warriors will begin today's wet Grand Prix from. It's of course Elliot Hall taking pole position ahead of Douglas Anderson, Season number 5 champion, having a very good qualifying. He will line up just behind and look to get his season off on the right foot. These two, I believe, tied on points heading into this round. Jack Tolchard then gets another consistent qualifying inside the top 3. Christian Razlov, the defending world champion, is just behind, showing a very good weekend for the ART West team. Toby Burns, Season 3 champion, will then line up P5, and Zach Swader, last season's runner-up, just lining up in P6, so despite the rookie pole position, experience paying dividends in the midfield. Kevin Jacobs, another champion of Season number 4, lines up in P7, cementing Nemesis Racing Team's pace. Then Philip Blum will line up just behind him in P8. Craig McDonald, winner last time out, can only manage P9 here today, and Callum Spencer carrying that 5th-place grid penalty. He qualifies P5 on the road, but it's P10 ahead of the start today. Joshua Wood started the season in dominant fashion, and it all went away in Sepang. He'll be looking to make improvements from P11 today. He's ahead of Olav Odford in P12. Josh Martin, Season 2 champion, will line up P13 just ahead of Gareth Lennon. Both of these drivers having solid starts to the season. They'll be looking to make some movement in the wet today. Craig Evans will then line up P15, he's just ahead of Andrew Pavia, who is again quite a ways off his teammates' pace. Both of these drivers quite away from their teammates, so we're looking to close that distance throughout the race. Ed Cantwell has been a consistent contender, as has Marcus Townend so far this season, but Tokyo so far has been their undoing. They'll be looking to make their way towards the point and hope for a little bit of chaos. Jonathan Carrera won the last time we raced here in Japan in Tochigi. He can only manage 19th here today though, and Tom McDonald quite the ways off his teammate and brother in P20. And then bringing up the rear of the grid, Colin McAllister will secure P21, and it's Reinhard Ecker who sets the slowest time of Saturday. But of course, this is usually not the place you want to be, but on a very wet start, it's even more so. There's going to be so much spray, but it could be a blessing in disguise as they look for some leeway in the chaos that we're no doubt about to see. And Tokyo R246 is, of course, set on the real streets of Tokyo's R246 National Highway. Debuting in Gran Turismo 3 in 2001, it's become quite the cult classic over the years. And like we say, it's the first time we've raced here in Season 5. We didn't attend in Season number 6, so we have some lost time to make up for. In Japan, always making some crazy ones. Jonathan Carrera won last time out. He's got a hell of a job to do. He's going to do it from 19th here today. But all eyes are on Elliot Hall and Douglas Anderson as we get ready for the race start. And we're away straight away, and absolutely everybody is sliding left and right, searching for any form of grip. And Elliot Hall has done the first hard task. He's got a good getaway, but he'll have to defend into turn 1, and he's miles ahead. He's absolutely flying. Douglas Anderson has had to tuck in behind, and Elliot Hall will lead the way. Douglas Anderson looking like he's under a little bit of pressure from his teammate, but Christian Vrazilov actually looking under pressure from Jack Tolchard. I can just about make out in the background there, Jack Tolchard looking to the inside line, but straddling the curb and losing that drive, and people get underway, and there's a little bit of extra caution here, Josh, because there is spray absolutely everywhere, but so far the majority of the field looking like they've got underway without issue. And as I say that, we have a little bit of a pile-up going on, and the first virtual safety car of the afternoon is deployed.
Absolutely, Toby. I was just watching the spray there back from Byrne, and you could just, well, you couldn't see anything really. There was so much going on. Colin McAllister there, obviously looking, trundling around at the back there, had a bit of an involvement in that instant. And yeah, I think we have to say, what a start it's been. Elliot Hall getting away from the line, great. The car's really sliding under traction, but a very good start for the youngster.
Absolutely, and that's great timing as the VSC is about to come to a close, and we're about to do it all over again. Green flag, and we resume racing here in Tokyo, and we've got a battle with the spray. Obviously, it's not raining, so this track will dry, I assume, as these cars go around as the most confident and the most effective water clearers in the world. And it's not much of a consolation though for these guys, because there is just nothing. You can barely see in front of your own halo, such are the conditions. So a little bit of outside on the air of caution will be travelling through these guys on the first lap. But we have 2 victims already, and we talked about Joshua Wood having a miserable start to the season. Looks like himself and Josh Martin got into it. They're both out already before the end of the first lap. So what looked like one of the most dominant starts to an AIC season we've ever seen has come to a close very quickly, as we're watching Jack Tolchard in hot pursuit of Christian Vrazilov. Very unique storyline for these two. The man who replaced the other at Simstaff, and the one who went on to win the championship on his first season for a new team. So Jack Tolchard will be wanting to compare his skill set to the former Simstaff driver. Christian Vrazilov will be wanting to prove his mettle and prove that Simstaff made the wrong decision, as Callum Spencer getting into it in the back. Looks like he's trying to go around the outside of Gareth Lennon, which now turns to the inside for the next corner. Has he got the drive? We can't even see Gareth Lennon, such as the spray, and no, Callum Spencer dropping just back behind the Northern Irishman. And there is people attempting to make the move, Josh, but it's so much harder to judge your distance in these circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. As we saw with Elliot's pole lap, you know, there's really in the dry only sort of one racing line through here, particularly around this big parabolic corner. But when it gets wet, the drivers start to make mistakes. The lines open up. You see there Callum Spencer drifting out a little bit. And those opportunities then do open up. As you see Kevin Jacobs, I think, on the inside there looking to make a move and getting alongside very nicely in the wet. But yeah, I'm very surprised about Joshua Wood. Obviously, he had that DNF after those 2 back-to-back poles, Toby. And maybe we thought it was just reliability is an issue, but has he lost his charm? As you see Gareth Lennon go around the outside there as they come up the hill on the inside now. And very good move from the youngster there in that weather.
Gareth Lennon and Kevin Jacobs still going side by side through the corners that we didn't think we'd see any overtaking. The double right-hand corner was the first challenge. Gareth Lennon holding it all the way around the outside, and he does. I can't remember if he secured the move or he defended the move, but either way, great driving by the both of them not to make contact in these conditions. And Gareth Lennon remains, or gains, P9, and we come into the final corner, and he's right up behind Philip Blum now as we exit the, like you say, the slowest part, and this is where we'll be searching for traction the most, because there is just not a lot available. We can see Olav Oddven is pulling to the outside. He's looking for a move on Andrew Pavia, and up into P12 goes Olav Oddven. Fantastic move under traction. He makes the move down the start-finish straight, and he's thinking for more. He's going side by side with Callum Spencer, heading into turn number 1, pulls all the way to the inside. He's going to go up the inside of the Welshman. 2 moves in one straight. Now he's going for a further move on Kevin Jacobs into turn 1. Kevin Jacobs loses it on the traction behind. What a start, what a race so far from Olav Oddven. He's just made 3 positions in a single straight line, and he now only has a single car between himself and Gareth Lennon ahead. And what an absolute demonstration of how powerful traction is as we come through the Parrick Baltic corner that you mentioned, and he's looking for something, anything. There's a double spray coming through. Oh, as we get a little bit slidey. Olav Oddven really looking like a bit of a Rainmeister at the moment. He's on the wrong line though, up the inside though of Gareth Lennon. He's going to make it 4 overtakes in a single lap, and he's right behind his teammate now. Olav Oddven, the Rainmaster.
Absolutely, I would not want to be Oddven's teammates. We come quickly to a replay here. We're just going to see what's on board for Joshua Wood as we look up towards, got a couple of hours ahead, and as we said, that spray was just so bad. I think we're going to see some contact here potentially, but no, maybe not. Okay, I'm not too sure what the replay is leaning towards, but Joshua Wood there getting some great traction out of that corner, and you can just see when you do get the foot down, it does make a huge difference as he runs late into that corner, and we got a big spin from the driver. He took some curb, and then Josh goes straight into him there as well. So that obviously been the incident that we saw to start the race, and it tracks up behind them as well. Quite a few cars getting stuck. It looks like they get moving, but yeah, a bit of a rookie mistake there for a driver who had such a good start to the season. It's right on board with Josh now. He's going to be the one that comes into the scene of this incident, and it looks like the driver is just trying to make the most of this wet weather, but when you touch the curbs, the car just goes round. You can see they're basically an identical mover, and just nowhere there for the sim staff car to go. So not too great, Toby, but I tell you who I am wanting to watch out for is Craig McDonald. Obviously he had some good pace last time to match Woods, and I'm curious to see what he can do this time out.
Yeah, will certainly be interesting to see what McDonald can do in the wet, completely different circumstances, but a man who's really impressed me off this start, Josh. Look at this, Olav Oddven gets 1 under traction, and he can just carry the extra speed he got from that great launch all the way down the start-finish straight. We have Callum Spencer on the left here the whole time, and he just has so much more confidence offline to get the braking done down the inside of 1, down the inside of 2. 2 for 1. He clearly has the better confidence on the brake pedal, and he catches so much experience napping down the start-finish straight. Of course, no investigation necessary solely for the incident between Martin and Wood, as both of them, like you said, both just getting caught out by the wet curb. But Olav Oddven already applying some pressure to the back of his teammate. He really is looking like the strongest man in the wet here today. We say making 4 moves into a single lap is something we would talk about Ayrton Senna in back in the days of Donington. So very impressive stuff here today. Jacobs and Lennon and Spencer all having a little melee coming into turn 1. So some people are airing a bit more on this side. Of course, we have Tom McDonald looking to make a move on Reinhard Ecker for P18. Has he got the move pulled off? Looks like he has. Reinhard Ecker up the inside. Maybe risking it on that curb. No, backs out of it and does concede the position. So a move made for Tom McDonald. As we were talking about Craig McDonald, we said we wanted to keep an eye on him today. He's moved up into P9, so he has made some moves early on in this race. But like we say, the 2 races could not be further apart from each other. And here's Speak of the Devil, Josh. Craig McDonald all over the back of Zach Swerder.
Absolutely, you can see McDonald there really getting a run on Sweater as they come through this fast section, so tight and twisty as they come back up the hill here, and so easy for the car to get unsettled, particularly as it goes from that wet to dry. Obviously the rain easing off a little bit there, but you can see still how much spray there is, and Elliot Hall, the pole sitter, is going to be the one who's really working this out for the rest of the field. He's going to be the one that comes to those puddles first, that feels those tyres go off first, and so the pit strategy could really come into play here. We obviously saw how soft the C5 can be back out in Malaysia, so whenever you're coming back onto these dry tyres, you're going to have to get the right one. Do you go the distance on those harder compounds, or do you make the most of the softer compounds? We've only got 14 laps here, so still a little bit of time for drivers to make that decision, but I'm sure we'll hear some radio soon. The drivers trying to make the best of what they can do. As we see Craig McDonald again back in that slipstream, still all over the back of him, and just trying to spot where you can make that move. Like I say, you don't want to get it wrong, because you can just go straight off into the wall. The curbs are not your friend around here. The white paint also very slippy as we see him there sliding a little bit out of turn 1, and Gareth Lennon really getting sideways. So Toby, it looks like the drivers are trying that sort of dry line coming into play, and of course the tire temperatures are going to start burning up as that happens.
I did notice it's looking a lot brighter than it did 5 laps ago, so the sun coming up on this man is... Well, the sun's not setting on this young man. He's absolutely flying, building a 5.6 gap to Douglas Anderson. Bear in mind, he's got 2 world champions, back-to-back world champions, following suit, and he's really putting the manners on them. And this is another great race for ART West at the moment, 2nd and 3rd, and then Jack Tolchard just beginning to fall off the back of Christian Breslov in this phase, and Craig McDonald looking like he might have lost a couple of tenths here and there to Zach Swader. But I was just thinking, coming into turn 1, it's very thoughtful of the Backer Motorsport team to produce a luminous orange car for this season, because it means we can see him no matter how much spray is there. You can just see him. Same can be said for the Norwegian American racing boys behind. But yes, very interesting. The sun has come out and it will be helping with the drying of this track. But one thing that I'm curious to see and curious to think about, Josh, is this section goes underneath one of the underpasses. There's going to be no sun getting under there. So even when we go to potentially dry conditions later on in this race, that could be still quite slippery, because we know obviously water takes a lot longer to dry when it's in the shade. So something I'm sure these drivers will have discussed before the race, and something the engineers will always be monitoring. But adds to that calculated risk as we come down the start-finish straight once more. Gareth Lennon in P10. Not scored many points this season. He'll be looking to get some more on the board here, and he's just behind Olav Odven. And Olav really not making that much more progress. Oh, wow, and there we can see the curbs, Josh, are still so slippery. He didn't really even assault the curbs that much, Gareth Lennon, on that occasion, and it's cost him a little bit of time and putting under a little bit of pressure from Kevin Jacobs behind as we come into the next section, heading to what isn't usually an overtaking opportunity. So Kevin Jacobs will likely follow suit, but such a mental challenge at this phase of the race as you're just trying to develop a dry line. But who's going to blink first? We're nowhere near the crossover point, Josh, but you can't deny that these drivers must be thinking about when that's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the team standings there. Nemesis currently P7 at the moment, so I was just looking for them. This could be quite a good result of points. Obviously, P1, Jacobs right on the back of Lennon could get that extra point in there as well. So you've also got all that to play. For a team like Nemesis, this could be one of, if not their best opportunity this season to maximise on those points. So still plenty to play for. And then, like you say, Tuppy, you add in the factor of the wet and other drivers on track. It's just not easy. I mean, even there, looking at Callum Spencer, it's still so difficult to see what's going on. A little bit of sliding, and of course, yes, like you say, with the overpass here, some big puddles still going to form. It could be a bit of a reverse type situation as well. So Hall seems to be pretty comfortable up front. Know that gap now just coming in about 8 seconds. Braslov just a second off behind that as well. So you have to think, if you're in his shoes, it's all to lose, but he's handling the pressure absolutely beautifully. Whilst throughout the rest of the field, everyone seems to kind of just be settling in and following the drivers behind. They may break from that racing line as they try to cool the tyres down. We can see Christian Braslov now closing up on his teammate once more. Christian obviously having a great season last time out, and really looking to maybe right some wrongs of what had gone on. He's got Jack Tolchard behind him, of course, who was quite instrumental in his championship battle. So yeah, a little bit reminiscent of past seasons, I would say, Toby, but the drivers seem to be fairly confident at the moment, and nothing too untoward apart from obviously that incident at the start between Wood and Martin, as we saw.
Absolutely. Form is temporary, class is permanent, and that is very much on display, with the exception of Elliot Hall, because we have three champions in the top 5. So experience really proving dividends. Of course, the other drivers, we have Elliot Hall making his debut, seen only his 3rd race, so he's really showing everybody up today. But Jack Tolchard only in his 2nd season as well. So some of the more exciting raw pace from the newer comers of the season are showing it here today. But no doubting that experience is playing a huge factor here today, and something that is very important that we talk about in races is Elliot Hall has no spray in front of him, so it will just be a clear track for him, and he won't even have to consider. And of course, you can potentially consider some of these things like Jack Tolchard falling a little bit back. Some of these drivers may be forming gaps just to see, because it is so hard to see and manage your tyres. And of course, these guys won't want to be stopping until hopefully that dry period comes, so they've got to try and look after these tyres as well, because as you say, these tyres heat up the drier the circuit gets. So these drivers need to be looking to make some moves, and some orthodox moves are probably the best ones you'll get today, but they need to make sure they're not overheating the tyres when they do it. As we can see, Jonathan Carrera and Tom McDonald going side by side. That's another move for Tom McDonald, but Jonathan Carrera eager to take the position back, looks to the inside. Side by side action between last time we raced in Japan's winner, and he isn't able to do anything on that occasion. Falls back down. Tom McDonald moves up into P17, quietly making good progress up the field. And like we say, I'm beginning to see what looks like, I can't work out if that's just the back end of the spray or not, Josh, but I think we're starting to see the very early formings of a dry line.
Yeah, absolutely there. I think there's a few drivers starting to push the boundaries a little bit more as we see them kind of, ducking out from under that spray to see what they can capitalize. A few teams over here running parallel, obviously Anderson and Razlov, and then we've got Blumenov as well. So obviously you don't want to risk it in the rain and take your teammate out, but perhaps some team orders coming into play here as we see Spencer has just made a move on the Nemesis driver. It looks like they're going back and forth a little bit, but yeah, team orders coming into play this early in the season, Toby?
Potentially, and oh dear, we wish this was team orders, but Kevin Jacobs in the wall heavily. Wonder what's happened there. You mentioned that we saw Spencer making a move in the standings.
Boards and flags,
the virtual safety car is deployed at a very critical time of the race, Josh, because look how dry the circuit's suddenly looking. I'm not sure if it's just a reduced speed, but the spray reducing drastically. Let's find out what has happened to Kevin Jacobs. We see him in the wall. You mentioned Callum Spencer had made a move in the tower. Oh, and there's a big tank slapper going on there, but he's held onto it. Okay, brilliant. So we're moving on. We can just see Callum Spencer in the rear view mirror move into the inside line. This is somewhere we said it's one racing line, and that's why. Kevin Jacobs around. Was there contact there between Callum Spencer and Kevin Jacobs? And oh wow, Jesus, that's very close, pulling back into traffic for Kevin Jacobs as he tries to get it turned around. Fails to do so, and we can see slide here from Kevin Jacobs up ahead. That's what presents the opportunity then to Callum Spencer, and he gets to run. And we talked about unorthodox moves, Josh, but this is a one racing line corner. Surely is the contact between the two. And there's the finest of margins, but I'm not sure there was any contact, Josh.
That was close. I mean, Spencer did everything he needed to do, but if you see Andrew Pavia here, he'll be one that's following along behind and just kind of see the drama unfold, and it just shows how important it is. If you get that traction exit just wrong, then you can have someone up the inside. And yeah, a very tight section here, and there is only really one. There's so much spray to me, I can't even tell you, but Jacob's not happy with that result, and of course, he did well to keep it out of going into the field of traffic, so I'm sure the steward's going to be looking at that one. But like you say, Toby, this is coming at a very critical point of the race. These are the moments that I live for. We've got 5 laps to go, drivers combating, deciding they're going to pit or not, green flag racing again, and the first round of drivers may have just missed the pit lane, so we could see some back markers as we see a few drivers coming into the pits now making the gamble, and this could be a huge difference if you're just 1 lap ready, 1 lap early on those tyres.
This could be absolutely huge. Andrew Pavia is the first man into the pits to get himself a set of C3 tyres to carry him to the end. So we don't think tyre wear will be an issue with this few laps. And these guys are all suddenly in danger zone, and they'll be having this information and they'll be flying, because not only are they on the wrong tyres, Josh, they're on 9-lap-old wrong tyres. So these tyres have already had an absolute punishing this race. The pace is going to be severely compromised. And someone like Andrew Pavia, I think he was trundling around just behind the Jacob Spencer thing. So I don't think they were too far behind. They were in the midfield, so Andrew Pavia could be on for a huge series of moves here, as that is how far Elliot Hall has built the gap. He's already into the pit lane, the first man to respond, and then the ART West's just showing up now behind, and we'll see a flurry into the pit lane. And whenever we have a super busy pit lane like this, Josh, it puts a lot of pressure on the pit crews to get their jobs done correctly. But it will be very interesting to keep an eye on Andrew Pavia as the final frontier makes their way to the pit lane.
Absolutely, and Prevere's already closing the gap to Spencer so quickly. He's already lost over a second. This gap is closing so quickly. We could see some big shake-ups here. Campbell kind of arguably ran out of laps towards the end of last race. He was fastest at the end back out in Malaysia, so he could be looking to right some wrongs here, and this is going to be so spicy, Toby. We're going to have drivers coming in, coming out the pits. It's going to be so dangerous. The teams need to nail those pit stops, and you could see the grid flip on its head depending on how quickly they can pull this off.
This could mix up the grid. We mentioned that the two-stop strategy mixed up the grid massively at Sepang. This is going to do it again. Andrew Pavia is coming out of the final corner. Let's find out how many positions gained from trundling around in around P15, P14 in the midfield. Andrew Pavia comes down the start-finish straight. There is a monster of pits. Elliot Hall is out the pits. Jack Tolchard is out the pits. They're all filtering out now. We have several slow stops going on in the pit lane. There's Andrew Pavia. It's P8. It's P6. What an absolute brilliant strategy. Great timing from the JR Mobile 1 boys to make up some ground following Joshua Woods DNF here today, and Anderson is the big loser of this pit lane absolute chaos, Josh, because he's gone from P2 to very last on the grid. It's a 9.2 second stop. He's obviously been caught behind several cars coming through. Disastrous stuff for Douglas Anderson. Andrew Pavia is on the charge. He's looking to go all the way around. It's the inside, now turning to the outside to secure a move on Craig McDonald all the way around the outside with the warmer, more prepared tyres. What a move from Andrew Pavia. He is on fire, Josh.
It's insane. He has pulled this off perfectly. And of course, his tires being 1 lap earlier will be up to speed and up to temperature, whilst the other drivers are still trying to find that grip. Byrne also making some big gains here, and Christian Braslov all over the back of Tolchard. They obviously had a bit of a swap around at the pit stops as well. So it's all to play for. The one man who has came away from this is Elliot Hall. He has not lost out. That gap he built in that first stint was so important. Of course, so he did so well to get that right. And Christian Braslov now going to be having a look at Tolchard as they come down the straight. Of course, those dry tires, a bit more grip on the circuit now. The track is basically dry. There doesn't look to be any wet. Tells us Christian having a quick look. Jack goes defensive. Christian's going to have another look again as they come down into turn 1, and he pulls off up the inside. Christian Braslov, getting so close. And there's contact there, a little bit of contact with Tolchard. I think he's got away with that, but that's going to put him under pressure now from Byrne, who's having a look up the inside. And, Braslov not having the best of results there.
Absolutely, absolute chaos unfolding as the switch to dry tyres begin, and Andrew Pavia still looking rapid. He's already challenging Toby Byrne heading into the next corner. Pavia really finding his footing in these changeable conditions, and he's very good at changeable conditions. If I can cast your mind back to the Season 5 race of the Belgian Grand Prix, Andrew Pavia dominated in similar fashion to Elliot Hall, a very wet Spa-Francorchamps, so he's very good. A very Jenson Button-esque finger on the pulse for Andrew Pavia as he looks to make further inroads into the top 5. And we've had a complete switch around in some cases, because Zach Swader is trundling around in 16th all of a sudden, and his teammate, who's where he is now, has swapped around with him. So the NLRs have top swap positions in the top 10, and that would be very disappointing for Zach Swader on for his first points of the season here today. But Craig Evans really looking like he's making good moves and making good pace and pressuring Gareth Lennon ahead, who said he's looking to score some decent points here this afternoon, as we come on to lap 12, and it's Craig Evans all over the back of Gareth Lennon. Then down the start finish straight we go. And we've cut back to Christian Braslov, who's getting another run on Jack Tolchard, looking to the inside. Can he do it? Oh, contact! Huge contact at the front of the field. Christian Braslov straight into the back of Jack Tolchard, and Jack Tolchard's in the fence. And I'm not sure what happened there, but that is a disaster. The two fabled contenders, both racing for Simstaff in previous seasons. There was a story around them and the replacement, and we were, to be fair, this has come quite late. We thought this would come sooner, Josh. There's contact between the two.
Can't believe what I've just seen, Toby. That was a rookie mistake there from Braslov. It looked like he ran out of space, just getting under that dirty air of the car in front. He hits the brakes, and Tolchard obviously trying to go defensive, and it's a bit of a late move and just picks him up, scoops him, and chucks him into the wall. So not a great result. Jack is not going to be happy with that, and Christian obviously got a penalty coming his way. As we see here, the closing speed is monumental. We knew that Christian was obviously carrying some front wing damage potentially from that last lap contact, but it's like a rocket ship here with how long this first straight is. And Jack has a little look to the inside, maybe catches Christian off guard, and just a little bit of contact and sends him into the wall. A terrible result for the Simstaff team today. Both drivers out, both into the wall, and not the result they wanted as we come towards the final 2 laps of the race, Toby. It's all going to be flat out as we see once again just the contact, and a fairly big hit there for Jack straight into the wall. There's no way that car's coming back out on track today.
That is a huge, heavy hit, and what a disastrous end. Jack Tolchard has had a very good and consistent season, and it finally comes to an end, and no fault of his own, because Philip Blum suffers a tyre delamination down the start-finish straight, and he's just missed the pit lane. That is an awful time to have a puncture come your way, as he's caught Douglas Anderson out, looking for a safe passage around him, and there goes Douglas Anderson up the inside. But Philip Blum, I think we saw, has retired as well, because you're not getting a full lap around this circuit this late at the end of the race with no rear tyre. So green flag deploys once again, and we have 2 more laps of this absolute chaos to go. What a slide from Callum Spencer. That's going to leave him a little bit compromised to the car behind. It's Ed Cantwell, a little bit of history between these two. Ed Cantwell now looking to the inside to compromise on that issue from Callum Spencer, but not sure he's able to do it. He's lost out on the final drive, and the team disconnects really trying to put on some pressure. They started towards the rear of the field. They've made the way all the way to the top 10 almost, and we have another safety car deployed. It's really going to be a sprint to the end now, Josh.
Absolutely, and this is the problem when you have this last-minute change with the tyres. As we see there, McDonald just in the top right-hand corner, you can see having looks like an engine failure, so not an ideal result for him. But yeah, it's just going to be stop and start here, Toby. People making last-minute jumps, trying to get those gaps, and of course, with the rain being in the start, the cars are still heavy. They haven't burnt off all the fuel that they need, so it is pretty much a sprint to the finish. It's all about what the driver can do here. The car isn't holding them back, but yeah, not a good result as we go green once again. Craig Evans obviously making the most of that pit stop window, and you can see already he's having a look at Letton as they come back onto the straight. We're a little bit wide now, which is going to let the cars up on the inside come past him. And Toby, we're just in slipstream train after slipstream train here.
This feels, we mentioned the circuit has inspired other circuits such as Baku, and this is why the bracing it produces in these circumstances is crazy. We have a huge slipstream going into turn 1. Zach Swader now looking like he's going to try and make a move on Jonathan Carrera to try and minimise some of the damage, but no, even when the curbs are not wet, they might even still be carrying a little bit of water, but it compromises Zach Swader there, and as a penalty, we mentioned it's going to be definitely a penalty for Christian Braslov, and it is a 5th-place grid penalty, and I think he'll be quite thankful that's not harsher, because that could have easily been a 10th place in my opinion. But 5th-place grid penalty, the second penalty of the season, going the way of the champion, and while he might secure a good result here today, it's going to compromise him for next time out in Bahrain, as we have Ed Cantwell is now on the very edge. He started P17 and he looks like he has moved into the top 10, looking to secure a point from a disastrous qualifying. It's a great comeback from him, but this is far from over, Josh. I know we've only got a lap to go after this. Reinhard Ecker looking, oh, big slide from Reinhard Ecker as he tried to make a move on Tom McDonald for P11, and that's left him severely compromised to the likes of Colin McAllister behind, but Colin McAllister is under pressure from Jonathan Guerrero, weaving this way and that way, looking for something, but this is somewhere you definitely don't want to overtake a move. You'll want to prepare yourself for a slingshot down the start-finish straight for one more time, Josh. We've got one more lap to go, but for some people, this will feel like an eternity.
Absolutely, and we can see here how close the cars are running. A simple penalty here can literally put you to the back of the grid. It's absolutely insane. The cars are running nose to tail, the slipstream making the most of it. This is proper Tokyo highway racing here, as we see Callum Spencer have another slide as he comes out of turn 1 there, and he's going to have Cantwell right behind him again, having another loop. So yeah, drivers really needing to balance it. We saw there was a delamination there as well. Don't know if that came maybe from a curb or if there's some debris on the track. So still all to play for, and at these speeds, understeer is going to become a factor, never mind with debris then getting in the way. Of course, Byrne at the front now, he's going to benefit. He's keeping within range of Braslov, so you'll get past him there to get potentially up onto the podium as well. And Odfin is now back up to 5th as well. So the driver who had a good start during that rain stint, having a very good run so far.
Rounding the final corner, the man who kept his head when everybody else lose there. It's a very young head on what would be mistaken as some very experienced shoulders. Elliot Hall comes up for the final time to win for the first time in the ISR AIC, and he returns the Nemesis Racing team to the front of the grid. Their first victory, I believe, since season number 4. Nemesis Racing wanted to shake things up. They said, we can't continue the way we have. We need a risk. The risk has paid off. Elliot Hall, a dominant victory in Tokyo, as we have a final slipstream battle between Cantwell and Spencer to the end of the race, and it is Spencer holds on to P number 9 ahead of his rival Cantwell. Tom McDonald just following them, and last week's race winner and the race winner before that are out, but we have crowned a new one, a new winner in the ISR AIC in general. Elliot Hall takes the race victory, Josh, in Tokyo.
Absolutely amazing. Lights to flag finish, and absolutely great drive there from Elliot Hall, and obviously Nemesis will be well chuffed with that. Christian Braslov there finishing second, as we know he's got a penalty car into the next round, but absolutely sensational. Under Prevere as well, having a very good result, and then of course the flying Norwegian Olav Odfin there having a great result in P5. Good result for the Northern Lights Racing team as well. Craig having a good result in the points, chased closely by obviously Marcus, Callum, Ed, and then Tom as well. So all very close. A few teams maybe scoring points where they didn't expect to, and as we come to that midway point of the season, Toby, this can make a big difference here, who benefits coming into that second half of the season.
It is always such a fascinating thing to watch as the ISR AIC Championship, because we genuinely don't know who our title contenders are until the final couple rounds of the season. But Elliot Hall really making a very, very good claim to that throne, and it'll be very interesting to see if the Elliot Hall train can continue all the way to championship station, but he'll have the defending champion of Braslov following him closely in the point standings. But of course he does have a penalty heading into Bahrain, as we mentioned. Bahrain is another circuit that promotes overtaking, so we'll have to see some of that experience coming through for the Bulgarian. But yes, Andrew Pavia, what a race, 16th to 4th, that is mesmerising, and it all came from a well-timed strategy. He just caught the others out who had just passed the pit lane when the dry line crossover occurred. Reinhard Ecker finishes 12th ahead of Colin McAllister 13th, Carrera 14th, Zach Swader had a miserable time with the strategy, as did Douglas Anderson, both of them getting caught out by slow stops in the pit lane chaos, and Philip Blum had the tyre delamination. The guy's actually got that back out on circuit, and he went around just to finish ahead slightly of our DNS of Tolchard, finishing through no fault of his own. That's meant to say Craig McDonald in P19, and then we have Jacobs, of course, and then Wood and Martin. And here's how it affects your championship standings, Josh. Elliot Hall is now leading the championship in his debut season. It is the first time we have seen the Nemesis lead that season since that fateful season from a dominant Kevin Jacobs. Is history about to repeat itself, Josh?
Absolutely. I think I was expecting a bit of a gain in the standings, but that is absolutely massive for him, and I'm sure he'll be very chuffed with that. A few drivers obviously then losing out through the results. Joshua Wood obviously dropping a bit further down now in the standings. And of course, Douglas Anderson also now making quite a change. He was sitting there in P8, but seems to have dropped off as well. So yeah, a few movers and shakers, Toby, and like you say, we never know what's going to happen in this championship. So I'm sure the teams will be very, very happy with how that's came today, depending which team we're of course with.
It's a very close championship from sort of P2 onwards. It's about the best of the rest at the moment. Ed Cantwell, to put it into perspective, is only 9 points ahead of P8 Christian Brazilov, and that can soon turn around in a race weekend, especially in the ISR AIC. But even close to them is Townend is on 28, and then the likes of him behind are only a single point between them. So Douglas Anderson, you mentioned, there he is, P11, just falling off the top 10 with 12 points. He's only scored, I believe, in round number 1 or round number... No, sorry, it was round number 2 in Sepang. He secured that 4th place, Japan Tolcha. But Olav Odven having a fantastic race today, really looking the business in the wet, gets his championship underway with a healthy 10 points. Gareth Lennon picks up 8 points, I believe. Those are potentially his first points of the season, so Gareth Lennon also getting his championship started. Tom McDonald P14, Ryan Hardecker P15, sorry. Then you have Blum, Evans, Spencer, McAllister, and that man that was just talking about how he's fallen a bit from grace from that season for dominance, but maybe handing the torch over to his rookie teammate. He's only scored a point, and he trails his teammate by around 36 points. So Nemesis Racing looked like they had the points today. Zach Swade and Jonathan Carrera, that's a pair of drivers to be our only non-point scorers this season, isn't it? There's a lot of experience between them two and a lot of race victories, so they've really been a victim of misfortune for the most part, and they'll really be hoping their fortunes change in Bahrain. Let's move on to the team standings, and it's Simstaff still leading the way. They didn't score any points here today, Josh, because of misfortunes, but their big gap that they secured through the excellent teamwork and strategy in the opening 2 rounds has been significantly diminished here today.
Absolutely, the team not to have any wins yet, and it's top of the standings. However, Team Disconnect making a bit of a drop down as well by 1 point, only gaining there, and Motorsport also having a bit of a change in the standings. So, of course, the big story we have to talk about, of course, is Nemesis Racing, who've doubled their points compared to last time out. So, a very good result for them. And Scuderia I'm not even going to try and say it, Alitalia, Toby, making a big jump as well. So, the team's championship still very close. And as we saw today, all it takes is a podium or even a points finish, generally speaking, to make a big change here. Drivers dropping left, right, and centre. So yeah, some big winners and losers this time out.
Of course, and Callum Spencer finishing in P9 today means JSR now get their first points of the season, and every team has now scored in ISR AIC season number 7. So we just have 2 drivers in the form of in the form of Zach Swader and Jonathan Carrera, Callum Spencer's teammate, to score their first points in Bahrain, and then everyone will have had a bite of the scoring cherry. But yes, a very fascinating race, a fascinating couple of races. We've gone from the heat and the tyre management of Malaysia to a completely different tyre gamble in Tokyo, and that race went by so quickly. I can't believe we're quite done already, to be honest. But Bahrain is another tough challenge for these drivers. Josh, who have you got your eye on?
Yeah, I think we have to be keeping an eye on the rookie Elliot Hall, obviously commanding victory today, and Bahrain, quite a fast circuit just like this one here. So for me, he's the man to watch, he's the man to beat, and definitely the man to watch.
Fantastic stuff. So the story ends with Elliot Hall goes from 0 to hero on one fateful rainy day in Tokyo. We always ask, can you do it on a rainy night in Stoke? Elliot Hall has done it on a rainy day in Tokyo. And until next time, it'll be the duel in the desert. We'll see if that fateful story can continue for the rookie. You'll just have to tune in to find out. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for Josh for rejoining me in the booth. And until then, we'll see you again. Bye-bye.